Hello and welcome to Living from Soul. I'm your host, Nana Hendricks, and I'd like to share my awakening experience with you so that you understand where living from soul comes from, and hopefully, maybe it'll stir a remembrance or an awakening in you too. I was 29 years old, and my awakening happened instantly and very traumatically. I had never heard words like Kundalini, aura, or chakra, but it turns out what happened to me was an instantaneous Kundalini awakening, and it opened up all my subtle sensory perceptions, and the veil totally disappeared between me and the world's unseen. I was launching a six-figure corporate career working with Fortune 50s. I was engaged in planning a Catholic wedding with my fiance, and he and I owned a web design business catering to realtors. So life was very busy, and I was developing migraine headaches, which I had tried everything to get rid of. And a friend recommended meditation. My first response was, I'm not really looking to get spiritual or meet the Buddha. I just want to get rid of my headaches. I wasn't very spiritually inclined at that time. I was more success driven, going after the American dream, the partner, the house, the career, the vacations and retirement and all the toys. So I bought the book on meditation, and the name of that book people always ask is Wherever You Go, There You Are by John Kabat-Zinn. And it taught you just to focus your breath and in this place between the nose and the lip and bring yourself back to center point and let thoughts come in and go out. And I really enjoyed it. I made an agreement with my partner, go to church and the Catholic courses for our wedding on Sunday if he would give me some time on Saturday to practice this meditation. The Catholic priest wasn't too happy about it. Father Friendly said that I would get cursed or struck for practicing Eastern mysticism because it tries to teach us that we are God ourselves. So my partner didn't really want me reading this book, but he agreed, and I just kind of kept it quiet and did my Saturday thing. And I got into a great place and loved to meditate, and the headaches went away. And then a trauma hit my family. My older brother, my hero in my life, was diagnosed with a terminal illness. And I went out on the balcony, third floor, looking over a nature preserve, and same place I meditate every Saturday. I started to cry, and I grabbed my journal and I wrote an angry letter to God. And I said, "Are you there? Are you on vacation or something? There's a lot of people suffering down here." Started thinking every member of my family was going through something, whether it was health or finance or romance or addiction and inflictions of all kinds. And I said, if there's really a benevolent, loving God, what are you doing? Are you on vacation or something? Help these people. And if you're not going to help my family, please tell me what to do to help them. So I put the letter aside and I cried. And as I was crying and getting more and more emotional, I had the thought maybe I should try that meditation technique and to calm myself. So I started to consciously breathe. And all of a sudden, I felt electrical heat explode at my tailbone, and it went up my spine like a volcano erupting hot lava. And it just was clicking vertebrae into place. And as it came up through my torso, all my underbelly vulnerability came up, the pains of my life and my heart space, all the heartache up through my neck, and it shot out my brow and put me unconscious on the ground, knocked me out of the chair I was in, and I couldn't move, but I could sense. And all of a sudden, I was becoming overwhelmed with this peaceful feeling that I had never felt before. And I could see through my eyes these light beings coming and helping move pain out of my body. And I kept hearing this voice saying, "Don't be afraid, this is a gift." And I also kept hearing that voice say, "Do you want to help your family? Do you want to help your family?" So I figured out later that I was unconscious for about 45 minutes before my partner came home and the door slammed, and he found me on the floor and shook me awake. And as I opened my eyes, I saw through the sight for the first time, and everything was energy. He was energy, all different kinds of energy gathered together, the trees, the sky, the clouds, the lake, looking in the house, all the furniture, everything was energy. It was just gathered together in different formulas and vibrating to different frequencies. And I had this question, what is this? And as soon as the question surfaced in my consciousness, the answer came as a knowing that this is the source of life, of creation that's flowing through all things. Some people call it universal energy or chi or God or the creative life force creator. And the feeling of complete oneness with it, the feeling of knowing that it's benevolent and loving and caring was just overwhelming to me. But at that time, I noticed my partner's energy had all these dark storm clouds brewing in front of him. And the more concerned he became, the darker the storms. And he also had light beings behind him. And I could see what I now know as his chakras and meridians and the blueprints of our different layers of consciousness. And so I couldn't speak. I was inundated and I couldn't say a thing, but he was wanting to know what happened to me. And he said I was burning up and my eyes were completely dilated. He ran me a cold bath and helped me get up and get in. And then he went back to the patio and found the book and the journal where I had written the nasty letter to God and brought it in, quite upset with me, and reading it aloud, and then turned the page and said, "What's this? Who was here? Who wrote this? It's not your handwriting." And it turns out that somehow when I was unconscious, that a letter was written back. And on the third floor balcony, no one able to get through the locked doors of our home or up over the railing, somehow a letter was written to me that said that, "Do you want to help your family? Well, live, heal your own life first and live as an example to them." That's how the letter started. "Do you want to help your family? Heal your own life first and live as an example to them." It went on to say that I was depleting myself, trying to help everyone else. I was trying to be the glue that kept everybody stuck together, and it wasn't helping. I was just exhausting myself. And so the letter went on to say that I chose my parents and my tumultuous childhood so that I would cultivate compassion, and that one day people would sit with me and tell me their stories, and I would be able to authentically empathize and cultivate compassion and understanding for them. And the letter ended saying that I was here to bring awakening to humanity and that I would eventually write books and help people awaken and evolve and ascend. So this was all Greek to me and to him, and now more than ever, he thought I needed an exorcism from Father Friendly, and I needed to get to the church as quick as we can. But I didn't feel afraid, and I felt that this was not God striking me or a punishment, but a gift. And I didn't completely understand it, but that voice that told me not to be afraid, I could still feel it. And so that day after day of seeing this way and feeling everybody's pain and seeing everybody's storm clouds, it eventually I couldn't handle it and I just became a recluse and didn't want to go out or see anyone. And I lost my job, my career, my partnership, my engagement, my wedding. My friends and colleagues that didn't understand me thought I was talking to spirits or something. So I moved to the beach to be alone, and after months of ordering food and not seeing anyone and living like a hermit, I thought, I can't live this life. And this voice continuing to tell me it's a gift. I said, I want to regift it. Give it to someone who wants it. I don't want to be a freak of nature. I don't want to see all this stuff. I just want to go back. Put me back in the box and let me go back to my little cushy life, corporate life. And I heard that voice say very clearly to me, I was walking up and down the shore of the beach and threatening to walk in and never come back out if I had to keep living like this. And the voice said to me, "You have not been given the sight to see shadows. You've been given the sight to see light." And so, I thought maybe I'm not doing it right, maybe I need to adjust the lens or, look half empty, half full, somehow different. And so I walked into Rockaway's Grill on Clearwater Beach. That's where I was born and raised. And um, I picked a man in the corner. Now, I would not have even been able to enter the door before this because I'd feel the wave of everybody's pain. but I had a new resilience inside of me, a new lens to see. I can use the sight to see light and not run from these shadows. So I went and I picked a man in the back corner and zoomed in on him and his big pain, big storm clouds. He was bald, tattoo head, leather vest, spiked jewelry, chain wallet, very tumultuous storm clouds in front of him. And I kept looking and saying internally, echoing, use the sight to see the light. And his storm clouds started making their way across the room. And he was looking at me like, what you looking at? And they got about halfway across the room and they stopped. And then they started to retract and rescind. And they went back to him. And they circulated around him and came back into formation at his core. And then they started to brew and loosen and dissipate. And I started to see these golden shafts, these golden glory rays like we see after a storm, shining through all of his dark clouds. And then I realized they were coming from inside of him, from his core outward. And the storms continued to dissipate and break, and more golden glory rays. All of a sudden, the storms parted, and a golden soul stepped out of him. And it looked over at me and it conveyed, I am his soul, but he does not know me. He believes he's his story. He's what his parents, his teacher, his society have taught him to be. He does not know me. So I started to cry and I wanted to run to this man and say, you're not your story, you're this beautiful soul. But people already thought I was crazy, so I wasn't going to push it. And because I had shifted my lens and I was not running from the shadows, I turned and I looked and I scanned the restaurant with over 100 people in it. And one at a time, the mask, the walls, the fortresses, the storm clouds, the shields that people wear all started to melt and dissolve away. And the soul started to step forward. And I looked around and all of a sudden I was in a restaurant full of golden souls and I could feel my soul in harmonic resonance. And I knew that this was the truth of us, the inner presence, and that yes, we're all unique in the sheath and the human form that's born, but underneath we are this golden essence. And that was my epiphany moment. I felt like the roof came off of Rockaways and the angels sang, hallelujah, this is your epiphany. And this is what you're supposed to do with the sight. You're supposed to help people dissipate their storm clouds and come back to the truth of their being and build a relationship with the soul. Let it guide, let it lead, let it fill your life, overflow your cup, be freed of all these things that keep us locked up. So that was 25 years ago, and I've had the great privilege and blessing to have this site and to help many people realign and find the light inside, taking women's groups and sacred site tours and beautiful experiences with community. That's one of the things I want to share was my gratitude for our community. I was not wanting to put my gift out there publicly, so I purposely kind of flew under the radar and built intimate communities in Florida, the Caribbean, St. Thomas, St. John, Water Island, and Asheville in Northern California, Humboldt County. And I traveled seasonally working in those 4 areas. And the people there became my tribe, my community, the people that could see me and I could help them see themselves. And Spirit always told me that it was okay to fly under the radar and do it that way. But one day I would share the message and the journey outwardly. So I've had 25 years of that kind of sovereignty and privacy. And now on my 55th birthday and summer solstice 2025, it's time for me to come out and to share the light. And so this podcast is the birthing of that, and it's in its infancy. I want to thank our tech team, Diana and David, for getting us here. It's been a couple of years of working and fine-tuning things and getting us ready to share. And our amazing community and tribe, thank you for sharing and reflecting the light. And I hope you find time and space to come back to Living from Soul and all the great things we're going to create We're doing a meditation series and a relationship series and an insightful interviews with soulful friends who live from the inside out. So that's what Living from Soul and my journey and what you will find on this podcast is all about. Thank you for being here and thank you for joining me and sharing in the beautiful light that we all carry within. Namaste.